101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book, Not a Real Enemy, no other than Mr. Robert Wolf. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Robert, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Well, thank you for having me, Daniel. Much appreciated. It's a real honor to be a part of one of your programs. Much appreciated. I'm Rob Wolf. I'm recently retired radiologist after 35 years in practice, 44 years all in when you include college, medical school, and internship. I was born and raised in Detroit, the Detroit area. Went through high school in Detroit. Tufts University for undergrad. Fortunate enough to get in there. University of Michigan Medical School, year internship with Boston University, a residency in radiology at Brown, and then a neuroradiology fellowship at Yale. So that's pretty much half my life. Now I'm 30, and then I start practicing medicine, and here we are. I've just finished, but I've been working on this project, my book, for since 2018 actually. So it's been my charge, my mission, my vector, and I'm enjoying it. A labor of love, dedicated to my parents and giving back to the community.
Mr. Robert Wolf, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world. What inspired you to write Not a Real Enemy?
Great question. The history of the book, briefly, the book is a journey. It's an adventure. My dad's biography. It's a history book. It covers Hungary from the end of World War One to the end of the Hungarian Revolution in 1956. Little known Hungary, little known about the wars and the forced labor camps. But my parents in the 70s, they escaped from Hungary in 1956, and that was my dad's fourth escape. At least 20 miracles in the book. So that was motivation enough to share it with the world. But in the 70s, they wrote his autobiography, and they wrote the stories as though they'd happened the previous day. Crisp, clear, the way the table was set, the sounds, the smells, the fear, all of that, and just it might have happened on the previous day. It was so well done. So I didn't think much of it at the time. They went from paper and pencil to typewriter to computer, and I might have read the manuscript probably around when I was 30 or so. Didn't think much of it, plus busy with work and career and family. So, flash forward to 1997, my dad passes away, unfortunately. 2016, my mom passes away, and a historian friend hands me the disc. Now that my dad's story's on a disc, and she says, "You've got to read this. You've got to look at it." Didn't think much of it at the time. Had to take care of mom's affairs for a year, and then I retired for a year. 2018, I go back to work as a radiologist because a friend of mine, never burn your bridges. He said, "Well, we're short, so can you help us a couple days a week?" Uh, and I work from home reading X-rays and ultrasound in 2018. So I guess the disc just called me then. So as a radiologist, on the left screen we've got the patient, the list, the queue, and on the right screen we've got the images. So I loaded up the disc, and on the left screen between cases, I was reading my dad's autobiography, and on the right screen I dictated it into a biography. That took me about a year, and but the stories were so amazing that I couldn't leave it on a disc. I couldn't leave it on a computer. I couldn't believe everything my dad went through and still remained jovial and jolly. He ended up being the punchline. He was an OBGYN. He delivered 10,000 babies in the Detroit area. So it's redemption indeed. You know, it doesn't bring back the 6 million or the 50 million people that died in World War II, and all the people that died in between then and the Hungarian Revolution. But it is redemption. It is bringing some life back into the world. So you never know what he had been through by his demeanor. Just amazing. A childhood hero, and my motivation for wanting to be a doctor. And then my vector changed the last 6 or 7 years when I saw this. It was anti-Semitism in the background, in the backdrop. It's palpable throughout the story, and I knew that they had left this message for me, but I think they did it knowing that I would try to publish it and share it with the world. And don't you hate it when your parents are right? So even posthumously. So it's no doubt about that the motivation was clear. It was well written, and then finally we've done 20 edits, and I got a co-author, Janice Harper, And I know we're still on the journey here. We're still fighting the war against hate.
Mr. Robert, how does this story differ from the other Holocaust survivor accounts we're seen read?
What was the last word? I'm sorry, I didn't
We've
account.
seen or read.
I'm not sure I understand the question. The I guess the parallels with today's world, if that's what you're getting at,
Yes.
that not much has changed. The song remains the same. Whatever people maim and torture, persecute, kill, starve, imprison people back then, and now they're still doing it in a different method. We've got Gaza going on, of course, Russia and the Ukraine war, which is I call the Hungarian Revolution on steroids, fighting with or against communism and of course the Nazis too. Thank God they didn't win the war, and I really hope that this Gaza conflict goes away soon, and the Ukraine war. Hungarian Revolution only lasted a couple of weeks, but still 3,000 people died, countless injured, refugees, torn apart Budapest, torn apart Hungary, and they lost a lot of good people, including my mom and my dad. Mom was in med school, and dad was already an OBGYN. So the parallels are with today's world are sadly poignant. They're clear. They're there.
Mr. Robert, what was the significance of the title Not a Real Enemy? How does it reflect the central theme of the book?
Such a great question, and I answer it a little bit differently every time. But um, not a real enemy. It's the theory. It's the theme in every story. It's the theme in every chapter. It's because my dad was not a real enemy. But before his fourth and final escape, the Russians, the Soviets, in their arrogance, they had a dossier on him, and they had one on everybody. And my dad's risk tolerance at this point was so high that he managed to the night before they escaped the country or attempted to. He snuck into the medical staff office and read his dossier and wanted to make sure that there was nothing out on him, so that if he got caught, he wouldn't get arrested, even though they might not have made a difference. But in a messed up medical school, papers and junk all over between security guards, Dad sneaks into the office and reads his dossier, and they called him not a real enemy. But it couldn't have been farther from the true because they were leaving the next day. Mom was a med student. Dad was a good physician, well respected. And Hungary ended up losing two good people. And if it were democratic Hungary, because they loved Mother Hungary, but instead of they had enough with the two wars and the persecution. So in the end, my mom and dad were a real enemy because they left and they quietly left, but they got through. But and yeah, and that's not the original title I thought of. Was the Hungarian Papillon was a title I thought. The Hungarian Butterfly after the famous escape artist. We've all seen the movies. Some read the book. And then the sixth book of Moses was my other thought. Because my dad's name was Moshe, Moses, his Hebrew name, and all the miracles in the book. So anyway, my co-author convinced me not a real enemy would be better because the other references wouldn't be known to the younger readers. So, and I thought it was a good choice. The true story of a Hungarian Jewish man's fight for freedom is it's right there. It's clear.
Mr. Roberts, let's talk the family and legacy. How closely are you related to the person whose story to tell, and how did it connection affect your writing process?
Well, I was never really a writer. If you knew me 6, 7 years ago, you'd say this guy would never be talking about the Holocaust and anti-Semitism. My mom and dad did it; they were educators all their lives. In my corner, not so much until the second half of my life, and I got a little burnout from it. I truthfully, I got it was kind of a lot, and then when she passed and time passed, and I realized what they were talking about finally, that's where I started to go to work. I was very close with my parents. I was lucky. Like I said, Dad was a role model, a hero. Loved his work. You never know what he had been through by his demeanor. I probably said that earlier. And my mom too. They educated me. We traveled. I went to Hebrew school. I took piano lessons, and my parents had great friends, Holocaust survivors and otherwise. They had Jewish, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Asian friends from continental Africa, Israel, of course, and they engaged with them all. And that's a lesson too that I'm trying to teach as well. Is that instead of hating each other or avoiding or not understanding each other, we need to engage each other. So very close to my parents, very lucky, and they gave me love. They gave me intelligence, I suppose, and education.
Were there stories or moments passed down in your family that were too painful or too powerful not to include?
No, really, it's there's no sugarcoating in this book. If my dad said that that's what happened, then that's what happened. But yeah, I was surprised. My dad was a good kid, but he got beaten by his father from time to time, even though he was a spoiled kid. That was a little disturbing. The way they were treated in the forced labor camps, getting urinated on, getting beaten, various tortures that are unimaginable that they had to do back then. And again, new stuff going on now with new forms of torture, of course, which is unbelievable. When my dad's parents were taken away to Auschwitz and what their demise was very heartbreaking to me. The grandparents I never met. Truthfully, I had to walk away from the book. I had to walk away from the project for at least a week and absorb what happened there. So there's a lot of funny things. There's funny things in some chapters, and there's some sad things. But again, there's no sugarcoating. So yeah, there's ugly stories. Clowns getting killed after they get humiliated. Rabbis. My dad's parents killed, of course, but also my mom's grandfather was a rabbi, and he perished at Auschwitz too. And that's a real threat to society. But very, very disturbing stories, and they need to be shared so that history is trying to repeat itself. And I'm in the opposite corner. I'm trying to help prevent that.
What impact does the history have on your own identity and understanding of resilience?
Well, it's my life right now. I don't know if I should hate to say that or love to say it, but it's been my life now. The book's been out for a little while now, but like I said, I've been working on it since 2018. Profoundly affected my life. The messages that you don't just empathize with my dad, you put yourself in his footsteps when you read this book, and that's what happened to me. I got the zap. Um, the other messages were unbelievable. The resilience that my dad had, the integrity, the determination, the hope, and ultimately the redemption. The resilience was amazing, and it's just so inspiring to me that it changed me profoundly. And I learned a lot about history, not only in Hungary but about the Holocaust and mistreated Judaism. And even now, I hate to follow it every day, but because you get burnout from it, and it's very sad that the world has to be like this now. It's setting us back.
Mr. Robert, let's talk about the Holocaust and freedom themes. How did your dad manage to survive both the Holocaust and post war communist regime in Hungary?
Wow, it's such a great question. I like to say the hand of God. I mean, he had two escapes, one from, or four escapes total, but two from forced labor camps in Nazi Hungary. So he was a young man, so he was useful. And they used these young men as laborers, and not only in Hungary, all over Europe, Ukraine, etc. But he escaped amazingly. I mean, miraculously. They were starving, they were beaten, they were marching, they were working dawn to dust, plus tons of pestilence, lice, body lice, bad back, food poisoning, foot infection. They went through a lot. So my dad and his friend Frank had enough. And in the middle of nowhere in the Carpathian Mountains, they thought they might have been in a death march, and they thought the war might be over, and didn't know whether they wanted to be in Hungary or Austria because they didn't know the outcome of the war. So they took off and pretty much in hiding or on the run for a while. And then they got corralled by some truck driver who loaded them into the dog pound, they call it in Budapest. And it was really unfortunate. They got double crossed. They escaped from there. Split second timing, a lot of luck, the hand of God, and then twice from communist Hungary, and 20 miracles in between. I mean, those escapes are miraculous enough, but one of his escapes, he was in medical school and he changed his mind. He turned around. He got through. He argued with this armed Russian soldier and changed his mind for fear of reprisal. And then finally, another harrowing escape was with my mom. At the end of the war, they were frontliners. Mom ran the blood bank during the Hungarian Revolution. Dad was doubled down as a trauma surgeon, and they worked hard for 2.5 weeks, and then they said enough was enough. So they escaped, and fortunately, they got help from the right people. It could have gone the other way, but anti-Semitism, some of the people that were helping them, you'd be surprised what they said to my mom and dad, and that was really sad. But at that point, my mom and dad were not ready to argue with them about the perils of what was going on in the world. Uh, they just want to get out, and smart to do so.
What do you think readers can learn from his choices, risks, and sacrifices?
All of it. I mean, he lost his parents, and it took months before he found out what happened to him. So that's a sacrifice in itself. I can't imagine losing my parents at 50 years old, because just because they were Jewish. And Jews weren't the only ones that were targeted. It's an important lesson too that the Muslims that are against the Jews now, they should realize that they were probably next. LGBTQ people were killed, disabled people, the elderly, the very young, but not my dad. And he was one of 5% of survivors from forced labor camps. And the ones that survived were treated as POWs, even though they were never armed during World War II. And they were shot at too, but unarmed, unable to defend themselves. So very, very sad. But my dad's messages of resilience are clear. It's inspirational. It's the determination, his survival skills when in a pinch. I mean, I don't know how I could do it. I don't know how anybody, most Americans. I mean, I guess military could make it and frontliners, but for the average, I don't know how I could do it and not show signs of PTSD, which my dad was in that category. I mean, he just moved on with his life, and they weren't afraid to share the stories, which is another miracle. And here we are talking about the same thing 80, 100 years later, but they wrote these stories as though they knew it was going to happen now. So I don't want to sound too repetitive, but they were right.
Can you talk about the internal battle between staying silent for safety or speaking out for justice?
It's a great question. The word fear has come up quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. Somebody told me the opposite of love is fear. So I think that's a part of it. People are afraid. People in Gaza are afraid. People in under the Nazis or North Korea, they're afraid. So I think that's a big part of it. And speaking out, some people do get PTSD. Some people just don't want have that urge to share their stories. They're so depressed by it. My parents were the opposite. They just wanted to see that this kind of thing, both wars and poor treatment of Jewish people, whatever group you want to talk about, they just didn't want it to happen again. So it's fear. And another thing is poverty. I think poverty is part of the theme with the hatred. Some of it's religion, of course, and some of it's territorialism. But it's multifactorial, of course. The concept of hate and racism and anti-Semitism. And for me, I want to educate people. I want to educate the kids. Education starts at home, and love should start at home. And that's my mission now is to share that. And with the many podcasts we're doing, thank you very much. Book signings, book presentations, and I've done TV and radio interviews. So I'm at about 150 programs at this point and counting. So very proud to do it. It's a labor of love. 10% of my author proceeds are going to the Holocaust Museum in Washington D.C. That's in perpetuity. That's in my trust. So it's a double down education. I directly educate, but also I'm supporting an important institution like that, which is amazing experience being there and get never mind having your book there, but invited twice to do book signings and teaching the kids and families about what's going on. I could do it every day.
Congratulations, Mr. Robert, for being you, for empowering our generations to generation to come. Let's talk about the writing process and emotional journey. What was the most emotional difficult part of writing this book for you?
Well, the writing process itself is tough. You don't just write it down and hand it to a publisher and sit back and collect royalties. There are so many steps, so many details, and that in itself can be depressing. That in itself can be, oh, I missed this. Oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, this publisher or agent won't accept the book, and that's hard to do. You try not to take things personally. So I have thick skin as a radiologist, so I'm kind of used to that. So that's something you got to get out of your you can't and you can't have high expectations. If your expectations are high, you're sure to be disappointed. I talked about some of the stories earlier, like the way my dad's parents perished, very very scary. Shoved into trains. My dad's mother tried to save her own life, and an orphan, a girl that was with her on the train, didn't matter, didn't work. Very very sad stuff. And like I said, people being humiliated. I just saw Schindler's List, and of course that was about Poland. but I'm glad I saw it again after I wrote the book because it's very relevant. It's poignant with the getting hauled to Auschwitz and the random killings and the random beatings and all of that. It's exceptionally sad. I try to make light of it. I try to focus on the happy ending that my dad survived, the funny stories, but in the end, we need to tell the truth too.
Tell the truth to the world. So, Mr. Robert, as an author, what will be your short-term and long-term goals?
Short term and long term, probably the same. I just want to talk to more people about the history and the history of anti-Semitism, the inspirational themes that come out of the story, and what happened to my dad could happen to any one of us. We must realize that it could be a bad neighbor, a bad business deal, a bad local government, a bad federal government, foreign government, or a natural disaster. We could all be on the road or on the run, hiding, starving, not knowing where we're going to live, and not knowing if we're going to work again, and not knowing if we're going to live the next day. So, thank God for most of us, that's not the case. We should live by more than food, shelter, and clothing. Family, travel, education, culture. That's all. Those are we thrive. We strive to have more of that. Unlike my parents when they were in the wars, and even in between, food, shelter, and clothing was everything. Big difference.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Robert, and looking for more and more empowering books like this to come. And what will be your advice for those people out there who want to write their own book?
Well, as I said, some of it. One is be patient. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Be careful with who you hire. Get help if you can, because I have a tremendous team that if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here. If you need help with social media, your website, your YouTube channel, even the writing process, get help. Make sure the book is edited. You should have a copy edit, maybe a couple beta readers, have the book polished. And in my case, I was lucky to have my co author, Janice, who really turned the book into something special. So everybody's going to have their own experience. It's okay to self publish. I was fortunate enough to get Amsterdam publishers to publish my book, and they vet out very, very carefully. And it's a privilege and an honor to be a part of that. But it's okay to self publish too. There are a million tips I can give, but we all have our own experience. So and we have our own genre too. Don't be disappointed. Don't give up. It's okay to walk away from the project for a while if you need a break. I think that helps a lot too. When take a walk and just think things out, or take a couple of days off, that kind of thing. There are a lot of little pearls, but in the end, like I say to the residents and med students, there's no substitute for experience.
Indeed. Totally agree with you, Mr. Robert. And people, if you have the passion to write, and share to the world, then stop procrastinating. Let's talk about the legacy and message of the book.
Well,
What do you
oh, go ahead.
what do you hope the younger generation will take away from reading Not a Real Enemy?
Well, I hope it's inspiring them enough to tell their friends and their parents. They say, "Well, what a great book this is," or they say it should be a movie, or "I want to invite this gentleman for a podcast or a book presentation." That is so heartwarming. Or when I on social media or otherwise, when somebody reaches out to me and says, "What an amazing book," that makes my day worthwhile. That makes the charge worthwhile because you don't get that every day, and that's inspiring. But the way my dad just made it through everything, and the hatred in the backdrop, please avoid that, and tell your friends, educate your friends, let me educate you. And ultimately I want the book to be taught in the classroom. And believe it or not, next week is my first live in-person university talk at the University of South Carolina, and very honored and privileged to be able to do that, and hopefully get more of them, because ultimately the book should be taught in the classroom, and the message of love, not hate, should be taught there and at home. And I think America is finally trying to do that, but not every country. A lot of countries are struggling still with it, and the United States too, with the college campuses. More college campuses need to invite people like me to talk about the story, so that, and especially the kids that are on the brink of hatred.
Congratulations, Mr. Robert, and thank you again for sharing your amazing story to the world. Before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, book 101 review in fifth season, comedy 101 in its second season, food 101 in its fifth season as well. Geography 101 and Love Letters in third season, and my baby podcast Mental Health 101, My Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please do listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Robert, if the subject of your book were alive today, what message do you think you would want to share with the world?
The message of love, the message of tolerance, the message of reaching out to your neighbor and understanding your neighbor, and learn from your neighbor, and it'll go a long way. Let's end these wars. Let's cut out the crap on these college campuses. Let's try to educate people. That's all I've got. I mean, and I can't fight anti-Semitism and hatred alone. I need more people to help with that, and that's part of why I'm doing this too. Spread the word, spread the love, spread the message. By the way, your other podcasts, I could qualify for most of them. I like the Sex 101 looks intriguing, Music 101, movie review, science. A lot of those I could probably fit in. That's
Yes,
I,
indeed.
good luck.
I-
Good job with having all of those programs. Unbelievable. It's very impressive.
Thank you. And indeed, love is in the air. We need to implement love in the air. So, Mr. Robert Wolf, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book itself?
Well, Not a Real Enemy, the true story of a Hungarian Jewish man's fight for freedom. I don't need to hold the book because you're posting it for me, and I appreciate that. The book's won 4 awards, and I'm not going to pat myself on the back, but it means that important people in the know, appreciate the quality of the work and the importance of the work. But it doesn't mean anything if it doesn't help me in the fight against anti-Semitism. But if you Google Not a Real Enemy, if you Google Robert J. Wolf, MD, you'll find me. I've got a website, robertjwolfmd.com. I'm on social media across the board. I think you and I are connected on quite a few. LinkedIn. I'm on Meta, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And they're all. It's important to spread the word, and that's a great way to do it. Is through social media. And every day I'm getting more and more contacts and networking, and it helps for sure. So you can find me. I'm not hard to find. Robert J. Wolf, MD, or Not a Real Enemy. And the book's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Tufts, Walmart, and at least 4 Holocaust museums now, including the United States Holocaust Museum in DC. So it's spread. It's getting out there.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Robert Wald because if you support him, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Robert, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Much appreciated.
Modicon people, see you soon.